Let's all take a collective moment of silence for the Twitter brand. The brand that has been around since 2006, years of equity, billions of dollars of equity, all down the drain. I've had a moment to reflect on what is going on, researching on what has happened. Why is Elon Musk making this decision to replace, scrap, kill the Twitter brand and the bird? I still don't really understand. I understand a little bit. I'm gonna walk you through my process coming from a brand perspective. So to start off, hi, I'm Christine. I'm a brand strategist and I work in a brand consulting firm in New York City. Branding is what I do on a day-to-day basis. Brands come to us and say, how can we build equity into this brand? How much equity do we have? Can you value our brand? Is it $3 million? Is it $10 million? Is it $4 billion in the case of Twitter? And how can we make this brand stronger? Because brands are a signpost for when consumers, users are wanting to shop, wanting to download something. It's a sign for them to say, this is something I've heard of. This is something I trust. Let me try it. If you've never heard of something, you would probably never try it. So Twitter, being a brand that's so well known, it doesn't really make sense to me that this equity and all the value that's been built into it is just scrapped. So there's a lot of confusion. There's some, are you really doing this? Are you saying that branding is a joke to you? I'm gonna tell you about my reactions, things that made sense to me, and why I think Mr. Musk is doing it, the things that still don't make sense to me, and questions I have of how he's actually gonna do this, and things I'm looking forward to seeing from X in the future. So starting from things that make sense to me about why this change is happening. A lot of times when we see rebrands and a lot of times when brands are coming to us, it's changes in leadership, changes in organization, changes in the business strategy. So those are all things that has been happening in Twitter for the last, I want to say a year since it has been acquired and owned by Elon Musk. There's direct changes in leadership. He's now the leader. What he's saying, he's calling the shots. I kind of expected that, and I think the market has been expecting that a brand decision or a brand announcement would come. Probably not expecting something as drastic, but it happens when a new page is turned. The CEOs, they want to make a statement saying that this is a new regime, kind of like in ancient Chinese history when a new dynasty is turned. It's from Ming to Qing, and you want to call it something different. I want to call it something your own and mark that page in history. So I guess it makes sense. Along with the leadership changes, we did see organizational shifts, namely the layoffs that we saw on Twitter. So originally the headcount was about 700 people. Now it's only down to 2,000. So that's a big shift. And then it's that last point that I made earlier of wanting to put a stake in the ground of saying, I am going to make a splash in this world. And as you see, all the news reports are reporting on this and he's making an impression. So that part of it does make sense, but I do question, has he been a little bit too impulsive? All right, so those are the only kind of three things that make sense to me in terms of why this is happening, the things that does not make sense to me from a brand perspective. So let me start with a quote from a Fast Company article. Musk's approach to the Twitter brand has been as delicate as performing brain surgery with a sledgehammer. His disregard for the famous blue bird, including replace it with a Dogecoin's Shiba Inu and renaming the headquarters to Twitter, had been clear exercise in defilement, months in the making. I do kind of agree with that. They're just kind of like breaking everything to the ground and hoping something that works. You can't build a brand from nothing, which is what companies do all the time. But I don't know, it's just like, why are you doing it? So the Twitter brand, based on research done, is actually valued at $4 billion. So essentially by killing Twitter, killing that blue bird, killing the name, killing everything associated with it, killing tweets, he's now calling them X's, you're throwing $4 billion down the drain. It's 17 years of equity building that the brand has been doing since 2006 to now. It's going to be many, many years before you get that $4 billion in brand valuation again. We know that a brand is a valuable asset. It is intellectual property. It is something that's trademarked. It's an asset in the balance sheet. It's an asset of the company saying that we are this valuable because of how people know our brand and perceive our brand and associate themselves and have feelings associated with that brand. A 2017 study that was done by a firm called Ocean Tomo found that in about 84% of the value of S&P 500 companies was these intangible assets. And of these intangible assets, about 1/4 of that value is attributed directly to these brands. That's a lot. It's 84% of the S&P 500 companies. How many is that? It's like more than 400 companies have 1/4 of their whole value associated with it. Another study that was done by Interbrand, which is a top brand consultancy, have said, citing the top 10 best global brands, they are building businesses around their brand in contrast to the traditional approach of building brands from a product. And that's what is setting these top brands apart from the rest of the pack. So it's counterintuitive. Everyone is trying to build value into this brand so that more consumers are going to buy their products. He's killed all that and said, I'm going to rebuild a product and then try to associate a new meaning with the brand. So I don't know, a little counterintuitive for me in my branding brain. And the second thing that doesn't make sense to me is why now? Why is he announcing this name brand X, which seems like a placeholder? He's announcing X without anything. He asked for a logo through a tweet. If someone can submit a logo that's good enough, I will make it my company logo. Why did he not do this internally first? Why did he not come up with a brand strategy that goes along with it? He has kind of a company vision, but nothing around the brand is being built out right now. There's no product, it's just X. And it's a placeholder for, I guess it makes sense because it's going to be a placeholder for everything that he's going to create in the future. And we're just going to have to wait. Why make it so drastic now? Is it because Zuckerberg made him mad and launching Threads and he's like, I need to make a statement, or I don't know, it doesn't make sense. The other thing is, what is the strategy behind the name? It's X, and what does X mean? There's a lot of articles on what is Elon Musk's obsession with X. So a couple of things that he named X in the past since 1999. He built the original X.com, which was an online banking startup that eventually became what PayPal is today. His child is nicknamed X, and he said that X stood for the unknown variable that is his child. And I guess X, the company as well, is going to be an unknown variable. At Tesla, he has X as a model of Model X in the series of cars. Lastly, he purchased X.com, the domain, back from PayPal in 2017, and he tweeted at the time that it's purely because he had nostalgic purposes and he had no plans for the domain and had great sentimental value. So it makes me feel like it's just an obsession to him that he wants to build something great with X, but he has not yet. And that makes me doubt that he will do it today, but we will see. The last thing is understanding the brand strategy. He has a vision of making a super app, a super company, which great, but what is that brand going to be? It didn't have a logo, it didn't have a narrative, it didn't have a mission, vision. It is just an idea that's in Mr. Musk's head right now. But I would actually be interested to see what that company becomes in the future, because it could be a parent company, kind of like Meta and Alphabet, where X holds everything and all the different products underneath it and create this super company that is integrated and has everything all under it. But that argument doesn't support the killing of Twitter, because Twitter can just be a portfolio brand underneath the X parent company, which could make sense, but he's killed Twitter now, so he's lost that. Maybe he'll bring it back in the future. I don't know, we'll see. The questions I have from that are, first, trademarking. So brand naming is a very interesting thing that I did not get to know about before I was in this industry. There's so many intricacies with trademarking. There's different trademarking classes, there's different geographies. It takes a lot to get a name cleared, and a name that's called X. I just have a question, because if it's going to be a super app or a super company across multiple different uses, it's going to have to get cleared across all those cases. So for example, if it's in manufacturing, it has to get cleared for manufacturing trademark class. I'm not a trademarks expert, but every industry that you're going to step into, you have to clear that name X. And from what I've seen, this is an article by Reuters, X is currently owned by Meta and Microsoft, which are direct competitors if Elon is trying to make this a super app in terms of social media and, I don't know, productivity, payment, travel. Meta owns a trademark that was filed in 2019 for a blue and white letter X for software and social media. And Microsoft owns the X trademark related to the Xbox video game systems. I don't know, those are fields that X company can't step in or will likely get sued by Meta and Microsoft down the line. A second point to that on the name is SEO. How is X going to stand out in the market? X is the ticker for the US Steel Corporation. There is an X org that is an open source implementation of the X Windows system. There's a movie called X, and there's Model X from Tesla. There's an Xbox Series X. I think there's gonna be a lot of work, and that leads me to things I look forward to seeing. How is this new brand going to be built? So we have the new brand name. I want to see a mission, a vision, a story being built out. I want to see not just the logo that it has that's crowdsourced. How is that system going to look like? How is it going to tell the story? Is it going to be just cold and robotic, black and white? Or, I don't know. I would love to see the visual and verbal system being brought out. What is that personality of the brand? Is it sweet? Is it cute? Is it a guide, a mentor? Is it your best friend? Those are personalities that I love to see the brand built into in the future. Is it going to be a parent brand? What is that brand architecture going to look like? Is it going to have different products underneath it or just different features? Is Twitter going to live into some degree? Or does he just hate the bird so much that it needs to die? And I would love to see, what is that path forward? What is that trajectory for the brand? Is it going to have new products? Is it new acquisitions, new partnerships that is going to be integrated? X the name, I would love to see how meaning is interpreted from that. On the flip side, it's very common, but the pro is that it's simple. You're able to intuit a lot of meanings into it. Like, is it the X on a treasure hunt? It's the spot where you bring excitement, you uncover new treasures. Is it closing out of other things so that this is the only platform that you need to come to? You can X out of all the other things in your life. Is it X like an X-ray of seeing something from through to the inside and seeing with new perspectives? There's a lot of meanings that could be injected into it, and I'd love to see that. Last question, is it going to bop or flop? And I think that all depends on everything that's put into this new brand, making it purposefully, because Twitter was a brand that people loved. So if you're killing it, you need to give them something new that people love. If the ambition is to make it a super app, an ecosystem, what is he gonna do? I don't know. I'm interested to see more in the coming months. Right now, I'm still confused, but I want to be optimistic. I want to see him create something new. Hopefully this was interesting. Hopefully this was helpful to analyze it from a brand strategist perspective. I was just reacting. So let me know if there's any questions that you have or anything that you want to see me talk about in the future. But for now, that's all. I'll see you next time. Bye.